Gang, we all know Spotify is the best and most popular music streaming app. They have millions of songs by millions of artists available at your fingertips. But did you know that aside from millions of songs, Spotify now has thousands and thousands of podcasts from all of your favorites, including Fresh Air, How Did This Get Made, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. They also have original programming like Stay Free, The Story of the Clash, and of course, the ever-popular Barack Obama and Bruce Springsteen podcast going on right now. Just go to Spotify.com or download the app from your app store. And don't forget to follow How Did I Get Here? That's Spotify. Millions of songs and thousands of podcasts. Let's get down. Folks, are you tired of people telling you your band is too darn loud when you're just trying to practice in your house or garage? Well, if you live in Austin, I have the solution for you. That's Space Rehearsal and Recording. Space is a state-of-the-art affordable venue for rehearsal and recording, located just a few short miles south of downtown Austin. They have 31 spacious rooms, great PAs, fantastic courteous staff. They have everything you need to get your artistic business together at Space. Find them at 512-448-9518 or go to spaceatx.com and start playing as loud as you want in Space, Rehearsal, and Recording. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right. Hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys are all having a great week, whatever it is you're doing this week. The show's coming out on Wednesday because I'm dropping 3 shows this week. So one came out on Monday, one comes out today, one still comes out on Friday. So, 3 shows this week. Gang, you know what? I realized this weekend that really the only whole albums I listen to from beginning to end are people that are going to be on the podcast that are releasing an album. And every once in a while I'll listen to a whole album, but I don't do it all the time. So Sunday, I decided that every day I'm going to listen to an album from beginning to end with intention. You know, like while I'm making dinner and eating dinner. That sounds like that's a perfect time to do that, right? So Sunday, I listened to Radiohead, The Bends, reconnected with that record. I used to listen to it all the time. Wow, that was such a great album, man. Such great songs, such power. John Leckie's such a great producer. So emotional, too, man. I highly recommend going back and checking out The Bends if it's been a while since you've listened to them. Maybe you came to Radiohead when they got crazy. I'll listen to some of those albums. And there's no method to what I'm doing. I'm just kind of like, man, I'll listen to this album. That's how I'm doing it. Just relax. There's no rules. Just going to listen to a whole album every day. That's the only rule. Monday night, I listened to Portishead Dummy. And that was great. It was great reconnecting with that album. It's been a long time since I listened to that record. I still Nobody Loves You. That song every once in a while. But listening to the whole album was great. Reminded me of being back in the 90s when you put on a CD and listen to it from beginning to end. It felt good, man. It felt good. It feels good to reconnect with music, and I'm doing it because I find that since Spotify came along, I've not really listened to whole records like that, you know, like I used to. I don't. I jump around. I'll start a record, but then, you know, halfway through the third song, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll listen to this. I want to listen to this. I want to listen to this. It's kind of getting into that weird I'm even releasing singles now. I'm not even putting out a record. Putting out singles. What a weirdo. Anyway, so I just want to reconnect with an album like I used to. So that's what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm listening to tonight, but I'll let you guys know on Friday's show. Yeah, I'll keep you guys up on what I've been listening to. See what hit me, what didn't, you know. But Portishead Dummy and Radiohead The Bends, those are great records. Gang, I have a great show for you. I have Brazilian-born artist Danilo on the show. He's got a brand new EP coming out. It's actually his debut EP called All I Want. Comes out July 16th, and he is celebrating with a release show on July 17th at Far Out Lounge with special guests David Ramirez and also Kalu and the Electric Joint. Been a long time since I've had Kalu on here. Anyway, Danilo and I have a great conversation about his humble beginnings in Rio de Janeiro and then moving to the United States, coming to Austin, doing music, making music, getting into the scene here. It's a great conversation. We actually got to do it in person, which is great. Those are coming back, man. I did 4 podcasts yesterday, and 3 of them were in person. One of them was on Zoom because one of the members of the band was in Vermont. So, I'll tell you who it is. Nobody's Girl. So I got Nobody's Girl coming up probably in the next few weeks. Anyway, the great Danilo and I have a great conversation about his EP, All I Want, his journey as an artist. Don't forget to go see him at Far Out Lounge on July 17th. And find him at DaniloMakesMusic.com. That's DaniloMakesMusic.com. And without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with the immensely talented and extremely cool Danilo. Let's get down.
There is something in you lately. There is something that needs to get out. There is something in you, baby.
So how long you been in Austin? You've been in Austin how long?
I've been in Austin since December of 2003.
Okay.
So I've been in Austin for a while.
Were you a little kid?
I was a young buck. Just right before, let me see, I was 20.
Okay.
I was 20 when I moved to Austin. Not a little kid, but yeah.
Wow, you're a lot younger.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a lot older than you look.
Yeah, I get that a lot, man. All the smoothies, I guess. When I moved to Austin, it was still, I guess you could say there's still some of the old Austin, as people say.
Yeah.
In Austin, 6th Street was still a place where you could go and watch live music, and it wasn't, the shot bar, 6th Street,
right,
college place that you see now.
Well, the thing is that college people did used to go just like to see, but it's weird because culture has moved.
Yeah.
It's like shifted to a different, like, it's not as important to connect with a band, follow a band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was a point where like you latched onto it, and now I feel like there's just too much noise all around us to really latch on to anything.
Perfectly put. I mean, you, especially now with COVID right now everybody's connected through social media, television, yada yada, and just in one day you can receive so much information that to grasp at one thing almost seems impossible, right? Because tomorrow comes along and more things come, new things, hipper things, whatever we're told to look at in that specific time period. And how does one person grasp at all these things? Like, I guess it comes down to the individual and what they deem important to them. That's a tough one. It's a tough one. And, right when I got here, we were talking about content, right? And the importance of it, especially now. And for me, myself, I'm not going to speak for you, but for me, myself, as a person that is musically minded, it's tough for me to be that person.
Like a PR person.
I mean, I've always been terrible with social media.
What I feel like there was a time, like the time that I come from, and I'm a bit older than you, maybe like 10 years, I'm 52. So when I was coming up, if you told somebody else that you were crushing it, they'd hate you. Like being like self-congratulatory used to be kind of almost sinful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, hey, I'm awesome. No one wants to hear that from someone. But you hear it all the time now. It's part of the hey, I'm doing great.
Look at me.
I'm crushing it.
Yeah. Look at me.
Look at me, baby.
Man, that's It's
and you
tough.
can be famous without doing anything. Like
Yeah.
you had to do something, and then people recognized you for having done something. Not
earned.
like
It was earned. There's a kind of a badge of honor that came with with your work. And I was actually thinking about that on the way here. The difference now, just from me growing up, and I'm sure you could relate to this, that the sweat, the work, sharpening the blade is what I call it, just having to play X amount of shows every single week to be seen, to be heard, because that's the way you did it. And now, because of social media, you don't have to play as many shows. I mean, there are people that are doing extremely well that barely play any shows at all because of TikTok, right?
right.
And,
I don't understand how to come across on those mediums.
I can't say I do either. I'm trying to understand it because it's important now. But that's the way it is, and the world never stops evolving. And I'm sure if you were to look back 30 years from now, or look back 50 years, 100 years, I'm sure
Right.
it's always been the same thing, right?
Right.
Newspaper came along, and the people before newspapers were like, I had to do X circuit,
Right,
all the
right,
time to keep people engaged or whatever. And that's the way it's been, and that's the way it's always going to be. We're always going to have to evolve. Musicians are inherently stubborn. I think we get attached to what we see as value for us in our craft and what we're comfortable with, because in order to make beautiful music, there has to be a level of comfort. There are people that work extremely well under stress, but generally speaking, most people don't perform well under stress, right? It's like
Right.
a small pocket of people. But we as people have to evolve. There's no way around it, right?
Yeah. So would you moved here when you were 20? Would you move here to go to school?
I didn't. I moved here for music. I used to live in Houston. I absolutely hated it because I moved to Texas from Florida, and being from Brazil originally.
Where in Florida?
Jensen Beach,
Got
like
it.
Port St. Lucie, Stewart.
Oh, okay,
West
okay,
Palm.
okay, yeah. South Florida, kind of.
Yeah. And so I always lived by the beach, and so like I moved to like a landlocked area to a place that had minimal culture, and so that was extremely
Houston?
hard for me. Where I lived was not
Where did you go?
the Woodlands.
Oh, dude. Okay, so we have a lot in common. I was born in Miami, but I finished high school there at Miami Beach Senior High School, and I lived in the Woodlands for 5 years, from fourth grade to ninth grade.
Okay, so you probably understand.
I had to move from there. Like, you see that turnaround, there's that picture of me where I'm 14 years old playing that. That's in the Woodlands.
Wow.
And
okay.
in like 1983 or something. And we moved here because there was more stuff to do, and I was becoming interested in being a guy in a band, and you could do that here as a kid.
Yeah. No, I mean that's essentially what happened. I came here with a good friend of mine, Johan Vyas, who actually plays bass with Kalu and the Electric Joint.
Yeah.
Now, so we moved here together, but I came to visit, and I'm like, what am I doing in Houston in the Woodlands, right?
Right.
Like,
Well, that's the main question. Like how do you get it going? Sorry, I got to turn this air conditioner off, but I'm still
no worries.
listening. Hang on. Sorry, listeners. Something that happens sometimes, I forget that it's. So
yeah, man.
There's something about the Woodlands where were you going to play the 19th hole? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I definitely played the 19th hole. Oh man. Yeah. It was just a combination of things. I loved. Obviously, the music scene was great. the weather was great. You know, Houston's a little more humid, and when I came here, it just happened to be just a beautiful, 3 or 4 days. And I had a blast. I had a blast here, so I was like, gotta get there ASAP. So,
Yeah. So wait, let me ask you this. Okay, so your music's fucking great.
Thank you.
You're a great songwriter, amazing singer, and but this is your debut solo album or EP, right?
Yes and no. That's a really good question. So I've played in a multitude of bands, but
this is the first solo one. No,
not per
okay,
se.
okay.
And I'll tell you why. So I used to have a stage name, Jack Valen, and I used to do like folk rock music. It was like a combination of, like, if you took the Beatles and some like swampy swamp rock, and
Where did that come from?
where did that come?
Like, why
The
did you
name?
start doing that?
I mean, I would say probably because of my influences. So my dad is originally from California, and he was, Monterey Pop Festival.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, so he saw Jimi Hendrix set his guitar on fire, Janis Joplin, Otis Redding, he was there.
Yeah,
And-
The Who.
Exactly. So, I mean, I absorbed all of that music growing up, alongside with the Brazilian music, obviously. So, I mean, when you're a kid, you're just like a sponge to everything, right? And eventually you get to a place where the sponge, I think, just gets too full, right? You absorb too many things, and it has to come out somewhere. And it just started coming out. I started writing all these songs that I needed to do.
In Brazil? Or no? No.
it
You're
was
talking
here.
about here. Okay,
It
go.
was here,
Sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
So they all just started coming out, and if you go back and you listen to Jack Valen, right, that music,
Such a great name.
it's schizophrenic because there's so many
Right.
different things coming out,
Right.
that it's not, you can't call it like an album, right? I mean, they are albums, but they're so the songs can be so different from each other that it's hard to really place that body of work as a thing.
Right.
If that makes sense.
So that's one thing I definitely got from All I Want is that there's a definite focus, and it's realized.
It's tough. It's tough. I've always been super impressed by people that are able to focus on a specific type of music for an extended period of time, because we as people, we're not one thing. You know what I mean? Like, today you may wake up happy, tomorrow you may wake up sad, the next day you may wake up angry, and to maintain a mindset, a specific mindset, to create a specific type of art around a specific mindset, to me is extremely difficult.
Right.
And you might be able to relate to this as, having the immigrant mindset,
Yeah.
and that's a conversation itself. We get so caught up in progress and moving forward, right? Because it's something that's implanted in us.
Yeah.
Like,
my people
Yeah.
came here and had to survive, and so
Yeah,
like directly, my parents were born in Cuba, so that was impressed upon me.
yeah, exactly. I mean, the pressure after, you move out on your own, you still get pressure from the parents, but it becomes a part of your being, right? As much as we try to sweep it away. I actually have a great conversation with Kalu about this often. We check in on each other, and we always make a joke about it, because it's something that is living within us. The chess mindset. A lot of people live in the now. I live 10 steps from now.
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's kind of a shame because I miss a lot of great moments
Right.
because I'm not living right here right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm here right now. But
No,
you know what I'm
I
saying?
know
Like,
exactly what you mean. Yeah.
and so we rob ourselves a lot of beautiful life moments because of that kind of mindset. And I finally, within the past 2 years or so, I was able to, reel that back a bit and say, hey, like, it's okay to celebrate the wins, the small wins, the big wins. It's okay to, like, just sit and chill for a minute.
Right, because what ends up happening is you're always living 10 steps ahead, so you never actually get to the 10th step because there's always 10 steps ahead of you because you're adding a step every time you take a step. That at one point you look by and a decade went by and all you were doing was working towards the next step.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And not living your life.
And that's life, man. I mean, life is to enjoy it, right? And the work is important, obviously, but if you're not enjoying your life, like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's impressed upon you when you're coming up on the streets of the Woodlands.
Yeah. I think, in full transparency and honesty, I think I will always have that minority mindset, and until I'm in the ground.
Yeah.
Just because of my upbringing, I come from a really poor family. I mean, and poor is relative, but I come from a poor family in Brazil.
But like how poor? Like living in the little like colored houses? Like I've never been to Brazil, but in like Venezuela, in Caracas and shit, they have little townships of just like little hut kind of places.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm favela poor, right?
Right.
So not that poor, and that's why I say it's relative. You can go to any country and find a person that is living a harder life. But like my family, for example, I have, let's say, 4 aunts and their children and husbands and families living in what used to be my grandparents' backyard. And they've taken that land and they've parceled it out so they could all have a place of their own.
Right.
Yeah. And so, let's say a third of my family lives in this one plot of land because my grandfather, worked his ass off to be able to have a little bit more.
Right.
And because of that little bit more, they were able to say, hey, I know you can't afford to buy your own land or a house, so here's this.
Right.
And then they slowly like save money to be able to have money to build like one room.
Right.
And then months will go by and they'll build another room.
Right.
And that's the pressure that as a person that moves out of that has on them, and when I say immigrant mindset, that's what I'm talking about, because those people are watching me and they're like, he has the opportunity that we don't.
Right.
And so you better make the best of it. So every day I wake up and I have that, even if I'm not thinking about it directly, it's still there. It's always fucking there,
Right.
So, yeah, man, I mean, when you combine that kind of thought process with music, the hunger, right?
Yeah.
The want, the need, and just different feelings, all these, just absorbing and trying to release both the things that you absorb musically and the things that you're absorbing pressure-wise, it's just a constant vomit. Of creativity. Some of it good, some of it not great, but it needs to come out regardless because I can't carry all of that. A human being cannot carry all of those things and be okay. And thank God for music, because if I didn't have that, I don't know what my outlet would be.
Right.
Yeah, get
positive
quickly,
album.
man.
Yeah, sorry about that. So wait a minute. So when you moved here and you started playing out as Jack Vallon, such a fantastic. Once again, sorry. There was a guy that I knew. God, I can't remember his name, but it was the most incredible Italian name, and he was this Italian pop songwriter guy. God, I can't remember his name. But he came to America to try and do this stuff, writing songs, and somehow my manager got me hooked up with him. And I was going to go meet this guy named Keith J. Adams, which was like the American name that he gave himself so that people would take him seriously.
Yeah.
The thing is he barely spoke English, so he'd be like, so Keith J. Adams, yes, I tell you this. Yeah, it was fucking hilarious. So what places were you playing? Were you playing like...
I played, I
emos
guess you
or
could play
something?
Yeah, I played emos. I played Antones. I played, pretty much all the Austin standards at the time.
Yeah.
You know, I played Beauty Bar.
Yeah. I played some fun gigs there.
Momo's. God, I miss Momo's.
Everybody does. It's
Man.
sad.
It's very sad.
Did we ever meet there? Because I was there a lot. I feel like...
I imagine we probably did.
Yeah.
I love that place, and that was like, you know, the artist and musician hangout.
Hangout, yeah.
It was just comfortable. You know,
Yeah.
everybody loved being there. It
Well,
felt
where were
right.
you playing like before lockdown?
Man, I took a nice hiatus after the last Jack Vallon album. I took a break. And I had another band. It was called Good Blood. After a Brazilian slang called sangue bom, which means like good blood, as in like good person, like good character, right?
Right.
So I had a band called Good Blood, and it was kind of interesting music. I'd say it's like a little more 80s driven. Was going through like a Smiths phase at the time, so it's got a lot of that like the Smiths vibe to it, the Johnny Marr type guitars.
Yeah.
So it was actually really cool. But yeah, I had some musicians. It was like kind of a hodgepodge band. All these musicians were also playing different projects. We came together, made this album. We had the intentions of playing this all the time, these songs all the time. But obviously, when you have musicians that are playing multiple bands, how do you hold that together?
It's the toughest.
Right?
Yeah.
And so after that album, we only played a few shows. After that album, I was like,
What year was
I
that?
need a break. 2019?
Oh, so then you had a break, and then of course. So did you record this EP during
Yeah.
the pandemic?
Yeah. I started recording it right before the pandemic. And
Now, let me ask you real quick. Sorry, you started doing this before, but there's like three producers: Jason Burt, who I don't know, Jacob Gonzalez, who I don't know, and Lang Freeman, who I know well. Who was like I think he was the second or third guest of the show.
really, Lang?
Yeah.
I love Lang. I
Me
actually
too.
hung out with him yesterday.
Yeah?
What a sweetheart. Great person. Yeah, so I recorded, and this is like one of those music business stories, I guess. So I had recorded quite a bit of the EP with Jason Burt, who's a great producer, by the way. He's done some work with Leon Bridges, David Ramirez. Oh God, what's this cat's name? Guy out of Dallas, country singer. He's blowing up right now.
Charlie, right? Charlie Crockett.
No, they have worked. I'm pretty sure they have worked together as well. Anyway,
whoever,
Jason Burt,
yeah.
won producer of the year in Dallas last year, blowing up, doing great. Goes by the name Electro Funk. So we had worked on music together, recorded a ton of it there in Dallas, and essentially what happened is this gentleman that I was working with Kier, who was supposed to be supporting me musically, I won't go into too much detail. Essentially, I had to scrap that entire project. And after that chapter closed, I had to re-record my songs all over again. And I'm sure you probably know where I'm going with this. I had to re-record my music all over again so I would have full ownership of it. And luckily...
because they own the masters?
Yes.
Okay.
And...
they were acting as like a label situation. They were funding the situation.
Correct.
And then, okay. Yeah.
No, they weren't.
Problem.
They weren't funding.
They weren't funding, but they were
weren't
connected
funding.
and somehow you would have to...
Correct.
Yeah.
And being, a person that comes from, let's say, that has street mentality, I caught on to it just in time. Intuition, right? Intuition. Things start to feel a little funny, and so you dig. You're like, maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't. Right? I need to look into this. I had paused for a minute, looked into it. Wasn't the right situation. Had to stop the project. Re-recorded everything all over again, and this is where we are now. But it actually ended up working in my benefit. I think it gave me a little bit more time to process the songs and really get them to the place where I think I wanted them to be. Rarely, I feel, for me personally speaking, rarely do I feel like when I record something, it ends up being 80% of what I had in my head.
Right.
Usually it's like, it sits in like the 65%.
Right.
It's like, it's close, but it's not quite there. So having the ability to sit with them and the previous experience of recording and the whole production process and knowing exactly how to go in there, I was able to get those songs closer to what I wanted, which was, I'd say, a blessing.
Yeah. Well, the way that it's recorded, there's a level of electronic instrumentation. How do you do that? Like, you got the show on July 17th at the Far Out Lounge. How are you going to do that?
The good thing about these songs, I think, is that they're translatable without those pieces.
Like to have a band?
Yeah. So I'm going to play with the band. There will be a band. Actually, Lang and Jacob will be playing with me and a couple of other folks. And
what about the drums? Like, do you have a guy hitting pads, or do you have a guy? Because they're definitely electronic drums.
Yeah. I do have a drummer. His name is Dorian Colbert. Fantastic.
Yeah, I played with him. Yeah. So years ago.
Dorian's going to be playing drums. Fantastic drummer. He, the guy's a machine. But yeah, we will have Steve Jobs filling in some parts as well. Yeah, man, I'm super stoked.
Have you done stuff like that with the thing on stage, playing some stuff?
Never in my entire life.
I mean, I'll do something like this, like fucking bring something like this, and then play along to that.
Yeah.
But I've never done the thing where you have to rely on the. I was in a band called Endosheen in the early 2000s, and they did it.
Endosheen, okay.
And there was like an orchestra fucking thing at the end of a song, and I would honestly say that like 4 times out of 10 we were not on with it, and it was a drag.
Yeah, it's tricky, man, and luckily I have Lang kind of helping me.
Okay, so you got a guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so you're gonna have a whole band up there.
Yeah.
All right.
So Lang is actually helping me deal with that, because to be honest with you, I wouldn't even know like where to start, right? Because I feel like that's definitely a skill.
Yeah.
And trial and error.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And so if it was me, I'd be fucked.
Right. For me, it's one of those things where like I got into this thing because of the freedom of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that immediately, like, a fucking computer is telling you what you're doing at your show. And that just seems, that's counterintuitive. I think it's great when I see it. I've also seen people have to stop a show, like, completely.
Yeah, that's a nightmare.
Yeah. I actually just saw Max Frost like in the fall at one of those drive-in shows at Hotspot or whatever.
Yeah.
First song. You had to go get another computer from the
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you bounce back from that?
He's a great performer. You know that guy?
Yeah, yeah.
He's good.
Yeah, Max Frost.
Yeah, Max Frost.
I've seen him play a couple times. Yeah, he's cool.
He was back in Momos. He was playing like blues. He had like I can't remember the name of the band, but it was like the Blues People or something.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
a talented cat, man.
Yeah, he's got some great songs. Talking about songs, I listened to your single on the way here.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it was great, man.
Thank you, man.
What was the inspiration for that song?
Well, I wrote it with another guy. Do you know Mark Addison? He's a producer here in town.
Name sounds really
He had a band called The Borrowers. That song's actually from the late 90s. And my recollection was he was my neighbor, and I was walking down the street, and he was outside smoking. And he said, "Hey, what are you doing? You want to come help me finish this song?" And I did. And it ended up on their album. And it's interesting because it ended up on his band's album. Then it ended up a couple years later in a commercial for the Cleveland Planetarium.
That's awesome.
And then, and so at this Feel the Love thing in 2020, in February 2020, that Austin Music Foundation does at Emo's, they asked me to go up and say some stuff about being an active member of this community. You know, like engaging with your people, because they're the ones that get you through everything, right? And so part of it was like, hey, look, you know, I just went to my friend's house because he wanted me to help him write a song. I did, and then it ended up, you know, being something that was financially viable. And then when I played it at that thing, these guys from Studio 601, Eric and Michael, they invited me over to record it. So it's just kind of like, you know, these little collaborations that you can do with your community, because there is, you know, I mean, obviously you say you're friends with Kalu, you guys talk all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
As far as playing music and trying to collaborate, I try to do that all the time. I used to do it more in the past than I do now. And I wouldn't say it's due to COVID. It's just where my life has gone and where it is now. It doesn't allow me to do that as much, just because where my focus is personally at this moment in time. But I absolutely love it. I've been actually bugging Kalu quite a bit. I'm like, when things slow down a bit, man, let's do it again. Let's write some songs.
Yeah.
Because that was actually how we met when we used to live here on Riverside.
That's all right. They know the street it's on.
Okay.
Don't say the exact address.
I was working as a leasing agent at an apartment complex here on Riverside, and what was the name of that public access? Was it Austin Music Channel?
Oh yeah,
Music
AMN.
Yeah.
The Austin Music Network.
Yeah.
Channel 15.
Yeah. Exactly right.
Yeah, man.
And so I saw Kalu pop up, and I'm like, this guy is pretty good. And I stopped, and stopped working for a second and just watched this performance. And I shit you not, 2 minutes later, he walked in through the door of the leasing office, and he put in a work order or something for his apartment. And I'm like, hey man, I just saw you on TV, like how weird or whatever. And we started talking, we hit it off right away. And he's like, hey, what time to get off? Let's hang out and swap songs or whatever. And that's what we did.
Oh, wow.
We've been friends ever since. It was like, serendipitous, one of those moments where just the right place, right time, both of us, and we connected, and we've been great friends. Like, this is one of my brothers. I call him one of my brothers because been homies for a long time.
Yeah.
Great dude, man.
Yeah.
Another great dude. Yeah.
So you have a band. It's bass, drums, guitar. Is there keyboards?
There's Alex Hartley is playing.
What do you
keys.
play on stage, or do you just sing?
I just sing now, which is weird because I've always played guitar.
You're such a good singer, and your voice is so incredible, and you're of the age that you never American Idoled or
no
voiced or whatever
I
kind of
haven't.
shows?
I haven't, man. I mean, I've been told to do that a few times.
I mean, listening to your thing, it seems like everyone would be like, dude, you gotta, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I've never had the intentions of that. There was just never something, the spark was never in me to do that. And I try to listen to that a lot. Obviously, there are places in life where you're like, this makes me uncomfortable. I'm not going to do it, but you should do it, right?
Right.
And this is not like one of those things.
Yeah.
I just for me personally, I haven't felt the want or need to do it.
Right.
Not from lack of or not due to intimidation or fear of doing it.
Right. I was invited to audition for one of those things, but it wasn't, it was remember when they had that show and Patrice was on it, but then they had one season where it was In Excess?
Yes.
And then In Excess was looking for a new singer?
Yes.
And so at first I said yes. And I was like, yeah, well, I mean, I spent, a couple years of my life wishing I was the lead singer of In Excess when I was a teenager. But then I was like, oh, what if I went to go see In Excess and it was me singing? It's like, no. And so I called and said no, but the idea of having a number on my chest and standing in line all day to walk in front of 3 people and have fucking Paula Abdul judge my singing abilities is just that just doesn't sound like anything I'd ever want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to each their own, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's bad for everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you. We all have our own journeys, and we all have the things that we want to do. And some things are meant for us, some things aren't.
Yeah.
But just because you could be potentially good at something doesn't mean you should do it.
No.
I don't agree with that. There are people that are like, hell yeah, you could make a lot of money doing this. I'm like, you're going to be miserable. So what's the trade-off?
Yeah. And then, people should just look at Kelly Clarkson. She had to fight, to get her life back, from those people.
Yeah.
And luckily she was successful enough on her own that she had the money to fight that. There's just you're like some dude that never gets to that level. You don't ever have the money to fight. You're just tied into some stupid thing like Billy Joel.
Yeah.
Like Billy Joel, dude.
Yeah.
So,
God, it's crazy thought.
Have you done any live streaming or anything for the last year? What do you?
I haven't.
No,
I haven't.
What do you do for a job?
I actually do. It's kind of a weird job and interesting at the same time. I work for a company called Sync. And what we do is, let's say there is a Microsoft, right, or a Google, and they want to sell their IT products to Nike, right, or Starbucks. I'm the guy who makes that meeting happen.
Oh.
And that's essentially my job. And so it's really interesting. I talk to really smart people in IT all day long, and I hear really interesting things and stories of things that are happening in IT right now. Some of them are really cool. Some of them are scary, really, really scary. I'll tell you a quick one. One guy told me that they developed AI computers on the east and west coast of the U.S. And during this project, both machines realized that each other existed. They started talking to each other in code, and once the AI realized that humans were observing them speaking to each other, they wrote their own language, so we couldn't understand what they were saying.
Don't tell me that stuff, man.
And so they immediately shut down the project.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, it's literally the Terminator, you know what I mean? It's holy crap, this is real life happening right now. So yeah, I mean, I hear stuff like that, and
you're still taking Steve Jobs on stage with you?
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't. Kill Steve Jobs. Yeah.
What are you gonna? Well, he's already dead.
Huh?
He's already passed on.
Yeah.
That is insane, man.
Yeah.
So that's really happening already.
It's scary. It's scary. I mean, Elon Musk talks about that as well. You know, he's like, we're dipping our toes in places that we shouldn't be because we're not prepared to do it. We're still on discovery, right? And when you're discovering, you don't know enough yet to be able to control things that you're dipping your toes into. And he's like, we need to back off a bit, focus on what we have now, and then slowly start bringing these new pieces in that we actually understand versus just like consume these large, you know, pieces of IT and AI and start, as he calls it, becoming androids with all this technology without fully understanding it, which is extremely dangerous. And I agree with him. We're starting to focus more on that than what we have and the current problem that we have, and you know, nature, pollution, fixing the problems that are actually important to human beings' survival. We're not putting enough energy into that, but just adding on to what we currently have. But yeah.
That story just freaked me out, so I can't think about anything else. Computers invented their own language because they were being observed.
Freaking crazy. Freaking crazy, man. Yeah.
So you just kind of you're just like a salesman, right? In some way?
Yeah.
Not just a salesman, but you're not like some freaky IT guy, but you're like okay.
Yeah, I'm a middleman. I help people shake hands.
Do you get to travel, or did you used to travel, or?
A lot.
Yeah.
Traveled a lot. Mostly in the U.S. I got to travel to Brazil a couple of times, which was nice because I get to see family. Went to Canada quite a bit. But yeah, it was cool. The opportunity to see other places I hadn't seen, though the trips were really quick. It was still is a great opportunity because, like we were saying, life is a snap of a finger, right?
Yeah.
So do as much as you can when you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So what do you got going on? You said this record drops on July 16th. By the time this comes out, did the single for All I Want already come out?
Comes out actually on Friday of next week.
Okay.
May the 28th.
Okay. This will come out a little bit after that, though.
Yeah.
So
the goal is to just hit the ground running, man. Just, get sharp again. Obviously, not playing due to COVID I don't care how good you are, how much you practicing in a rehearsal space or room is not the same as being on stage.
Nowhere near.
Obviously, it's important to be prepared.
Yeah.
But the goal is to get sharp and sharper and see where it takes me,
Yeah.
And write more songs, record more songs. The process never ends, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it never ends.
Cool.
There was something that I identified with you when I was reading your bio, was that you write songs when you're doing sort of these meditative, like taking a shower, washing the dishes. I feel like I have to get into some kind of, not necessarily a trance, but a trance. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That can only come.
That's exactly what it is.
From doing something extremely mundane that allows your mind to sort of like drift off into a space that catches whatever it is that's where the song is,
Yeah. I think you put it perfectly. It is a trance, right? We just don't recognize it as a trance because as people, society, we've grown so removed from that aspect of ourselves that it's not all the time, right? It's not happening all the time as it should. We have pockets of it, and sometimes that pocket will last longer than others, right? It could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, it could be a month, where you're just massively creative, and these songs are just coming out, and you're like, I don't know where the hell these songs are coming from.
Right.
Do. And then all of a sudden you're like, I can't write anything. What is wrong with me? Will I ever write a song again?
Yeah.
And then we have all gone through that. But yeah, specifically for me, man, like when I'm taking a shower is a lot. I've had a few dream songs, which have always been super neat because I'm always watching somebody else perform these songs.
Right.
And for whatever reason, I'll have an interaction with this person, and immediately I wake up and I'm like, holy crap, and I'll run to my guitar and I'm like, I got to figure this song out. But I think every song is a gift. How responsible are we for writing songs? I don't know how to answer that question, because I feel like a lot of it is as you mentioned, just grabbing
It's there, yeah.
the ether. They just kind of come, man. I don't know where the melodies come from. I washing dishes, I just start whistling melodies, right? And then the melodies give me a distinct feeling. I identify what the feeling is, and basically I put into words this thing that I am feeling. And that's my writing process. I've never been a person that like writes down and writes a melody on top of it. I find that like hugely impressive.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people. I'm like, I feel first, and then I express what that feeling is, and that's the way I've always been. Is that how you write as well?
It happens it's different every time, like sometimes I sit down and like, there was a thing, not even recently, might have been even a couple years ago, but, Walker Lukens was doing that song confessional thing where someone tells you a story, you got, a day to write a song about that story and send it back.
Yeah.
I
cool.
do that, like I sat down and I was like, I'm going to have an intro. It's going to be a piano song. But a lot of the songs that I love do come a little more magically. Yeah. But I can craft, Yeah. I've done enough co-writing and like being sent to write with someone or someone being sent to write with me to where, I keep a shitload of ideas on my phone. You know what I mean? Like everyone does. Like I get a melody and chord idea, just boom, there it is,
Yeah, there's something to be said about those songs. They tend to happen, and they're always the ones that get finished the quickest too.
Yeah,
it's like, how did I write the song in freaking 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Co-writing, there are a couple of people that have been really magical with that. I have a few friends. One that always comes back to me because he's one of the first people that I kind of had that with is Chris Brown. He's a guitar player in town.
I don't know.
Man, he's just. I think we as individuals come across musicians that when they play things that automatically strike us.
Right.
He's one of those people.
Yeah.
Jacob as well. Jacob's a fantastic guitar player. We connect very quickly. Kyle Samuel, unfortunately, no longer lives in town, but he's also one of those people. And it's just nice. It's nice to be able to find people like that you connect with, and it's just natural, and there is no work. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, you just get together and do the thing.
Yeah, it's just the vibe, man. You get on that wave and you ride it. It's fantastic.
So you booking more shows? Are you going to go out of town with this thing?
I hope so. I hope so. That's the plan, man. I want to play as much as possible. I can't freaking wait. I can't wait. I'm busting. It seems just in the anxiety and the hunger to be on stage again. And I love that feeling. Like, seeing my friends play. I've caught a few shows here and there. I've tried to be responsible. You know what I mean, and not be an addition to the problem of COVID.
Yeah.
But I've gotten to see a few quarantine shows, and just watching my friends on stage, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to do that again.
Yeah.
And just you get that rush, that anxiety, and want.
Your show's at Far Out Lounge. That place is. I went there in November, I think November, October, maybe.
Yeah.
When people weren't going to places. But that place was open. It was doing a thing. I went there to see a show, and I was freaked out, and I basically stayed here that whole time, you know, and moved everything. But as soon as I got vaccinated and stuff, I was just like, all right, let's get people over here and start being normal again. Yeah. Because I hate Zoom, Me
too, man.
Yeah.
Me too. I think at this point, everybody hates Zoom. We're so tired of freaking jumping on computers to talk to each other. And I'm curious, and like, what are your thoughts on this? Right, as society and population start going back to the new normal, and we start going to shows and interacting with each other, do you think there will be a level of anxiety of being around a large group of people, given we've been so removed from that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, just even like I believe anybody that had even just an inkling, like a sliver of social anxiety, it's going to be a little magnified going back out there now.
Yeah.
But as far as safety goes, it's really, like I'm in this band, Skyrocket, that has like 7 people in it. There's one guy that, he's still freaked out. He was vaccinated, is wearing a mask the other day during our live stream and stuff. And, the thing is that everyone, I think now, as things are starting to open up, masks are coming off, everybody has to kind of be aware of other people's safety. Like when you showed up and you were wearing a mask, you were wearing one in case I wanted you to wear it. And then I wasn't wearing one. I was like, hey, you want me to put one on? So I think you and I are doing the right thing. Yeah. Like, hey, how can I make you comfortable in this situation? Because I'm cool. Yeah. And you're like, no, I'm cool too.
Yeah, just consideration, man. Consideration, and it costs us nothing, right?
No.
It costs us nothing. It's a mask. And I think that was one of the biggest issues with the whole COVID thing and animosity and hopefully as we go back to living normal lives,
right,
whatever that looks like, that we've learned a lesson just from that, just consideration for other people. I think COVID was a lesson and an opportunity for us to be more considerate of other people and also examine our lives and where we were and where we want to move forward or how we want to move forward in life. And I pray and hope that a lot of people took that to their advantage, to like look inside and say, who am I? What do I want? Who do I truly want to be?
Yeah.
Not in the consumption of things or money in the bank, and those things are, money is important, obviously, but there's a limitation of how we should focus on ourselves and how we contribute as individuals to the people around us.
Yeah.
The people we touch, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not to sound cliche.
No, you're right.
But I think it's really important to leave good marks on people, you know what I mean? Like, be a good person, like, for yourself and for other people. It doesn't take that much energy. It really doesn't. It takes more energy to be angry than it does to be a decent human being.
Yeah. It's funny because I've talked to people, even people I play with. Like there's one person in that band, a different person that came back and was like, "Hey, I don't want to play like we used to. Mm-hmm. I don't want to every weekend. That shit, man. I want to live life again. Like the not living 10 steps ahead, but like going to somebody's birthday that's on a Saturday, but you've never been able to do shit on a Saturday, Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I look back at like 20, maybe more than 20 years of just missing everything in my life. Like at least half of everything.
Yeah.
And
that sucks.
Does suck.
That sucks, like...
The other thing, though, is I was built to play, and, like, I was built for this life.
Yeah, man.
And not playing for the last year has made me a little bit insane.
I have friends that are they get depressed, they get depressed when they don't play. They could play in their house all day, but it's not the same, they need that energy, they need to feed off of people and then give back. You know what I mean? The same type of energy. And that's important. It's all about balance. You know what I mean? Like, finding the right balance.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see what the reception will be from the listeners and what the giving will be from musicians when they get back on stage.
I'm seeing already. There's a lot of gratitude on both ends. Like, thank God this is happening again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope it sticks, man.
Yeah, man.
I hope it sticks.
I hope it sticks too. Maybe people get back into it, man.
Yeah. I think they will. I think music is like it's like breathing. You know, it's like eating.
Yeah.
It's so much a part of who we are as people that we have to do it, and we have to consume it and listen and feel and cry and laugh.
Yeah.
And rock out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, get the juice.
Shit,
as I
yeah,
call
man.
it. So it's good for us. It's good to have those connections to ourselves and the people around us, man. Like being at a show and the music is great, the band is great, and everybody, we're all like feeding off of that energy, and it's like thick, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like good thick. It's like,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
Well, people should be excited. They get to see you on July 17th. That's a Saturday at the Far Out Lounge with the amazing David Ramirez as well.
That's right, yeah. It's going to be a great show, man. It's
Yeah.
going to be Kalu, The Electric Joint, David Ramirez, myself, and Jason Burt actually will be there as well. He's going to be actually spinning. He's going to be DJing that show. It's going to, like, our goal is to make it as fun as possible, bring out good energy, you know, make people happy.
Yeah.
Hopefully can dance a little bit. I don't know what their setup is going to be. It's still, you know, a couple months away. Things could change by then, but you
Maybe
know,
things could change for the better too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But yeah, we want to make people dance, leave with smiles.
Yeah, man. So by the time this podcast comes out, both Bring It Back and All I Want singles will be available. People can go check out what it is that you're doing. They can also go to DaniloMakesMusic.com to get more involved. It's been great talking to you, man.
Likewise.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Yeah.
We got super deep in great places, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
We had some great things to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's always awesome to be able to connect with somebody so quickly. So
Thanks, man.
props to you for making me feel comfortable as well.
Cheers. Thanks for doing it, man.
You must release it when you must shine.
That is Danilo. What a great conversation, man. You're hearing his song Bring It Back, which you can find wherever it is you stream and download jams. Find him at DaniloMakesMusic.com. His brand new EP, All I Want, drops July 16th. And also, he will be playing at the Far Out Lounge on July 17th with special guests David Ramirez and Kalu and the Electric Joint. Great talking to Danilo. I want to thank him for coming on the show. I don't know why I'm having a hard time saying that name. Danilo. I can say it. Hey, gang, don't forget when you're out there checking out DaniloMakesMusic.com, you can subscribe to this podcast wherever it is that you find podcasts, be it Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Overcast, Stitcher, anywhere you find podcasts. 3 shows a week right now. I'm going to drop 3 next week, too, because I'm doing so many. As I said, I did 4 yesterday. 4. But at least 3 of them were in person. Want to thank Danilo for coming by. I want you guys to have a great rest of the week. I'll talk to you on Friday. My guest will be Primo the Alien. All right. Have a great week. Enjoy the rest of this song, Bring It Back by Danilo. Let's get down.
I'm bringing it back, something in this beat just really makes you wanna move. I'm bringing it back, nothing to it, just let yourself fall into the groove. And what you are, they'll never take it. The things in you, they'll never see. Walls are better when they're breaking. You cannot cage those who are free. Overtake you. Don't you stop. It's as easy as you make it. Get your back up off the wall. I'm bringing it back. Something in this beat just really makes you wanna move. the groove.